Welcome back. This is going to be the second part to the last video I did on a minetest server setup in Arch Linux. It'll be the last one in this series, at least for a little while. Probably another month and a half, 2 months, I'll be setting this server up on a actual real computer instead of a virtual machine, so I might do another one then. But until then, I wanted to take a look. Well, we went through the server setup kind of fast just to get it up and running. Now I want to install some mods, some additional game, and basically show you how all the files relate to each other on the server. I'm still fairly new at minetest, but I think I've got a good handle on it, especially its use of systemd. And so I'll explain what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. Again, it may be good for you to do the same, or you may want to do something different. But the first part will be a demonstration of using the GUI to set up a server, the advantages and disadvantages of that, and then we'll talk about the actual command line server. So hopefully you get something out of this, and hopefully you're interested. So guess I'll get started now. So I'm going to start this video off with running a server as the minetest client or the minetest GUI, however you want to look at it. And you're running it, you'll see there is a host server option. This is probably the easiest way to spin up a server. However, it does have some limitations. Some of them being you will most likely need a keyboard, mouse, monitor hooked up to the computer it's running on. I mean, technically you could run a remote desktop. You also need to remain logged into that specific game being hosted for it to stay up and running as a server. Again, this may or may not be a problem for some people, but it generally requires the computer to be accessible and hooked up with some, like say, keyboard, mouse, monitor. Doing a command line server via the minetest-server option or minetest-server program, it's much easier to set up an SSH connection to the command line connection to the server. You can run the instance of the world without having it shut down on you when you exit, and you don't need the keyboard, mouse, monitor hooked up once everything's up and running. You can just hide the server away in a closet. And as long as it's got internet connection, you'll be fine. Okay, the first thing I want to do is set up a server on a separate virtual machine. This machine I'm using is one I had to install a GUI on in a couple of videos ago using Slim and OpenBox, but we're going to go ahead and log in. I've already installed minetest client on this machine. So let's go ahead and get minetest up and running. Let's set up the host here. Announce the server. All that really isn't going to do anything in this case. Okay, IPA should get us the IP address, which is at 5.221. And we're actually starting a server now instead of just a local instance. Yeah, I died last time around. Let's go ahead and respawn. There we go. Now let's go to our Windows instance, and you see I've got the server here at 5.221. We'll need to log in with a different username and password. I've already logged in once, so this one should work. You can't log in with the same or you'll get an error. Also died. Anyways, respawning. So take Let's see. Okay, there it is. There's my other RT character. Let's head towards it. And there I am, just sort of standing there. So we've got two characters running this world, one from the server and one from myself, or one from the Windows instance. Okay, let's go ahead and jump back to our server. Let me exit, shutting down. Okay, I've exited the server. And we will notice that my instance here in Windows is access denied, reason server shutting down. So this is one of the disadvantages of using the GUI, is that you have to stay logged in on your server for the world to run. Next, I want to talk about what was actually installed when we installed the minetest-server package. Actually, it's just a small number of files. It's the dependencies that get you with extra files, but let's look at the minetest server first. So we had several systemd files installed, the first one being the actual service that we're going to use with systemd to start minetest and keep it running and start it on reboot. The next one was in sysusers.d, and it creates the actual user. And then finally, under the systemd, we had the tempfiles.d, which is what actually creates the minetest user's home folder. The actual binary is located in user bin. Now there's a directory created in etc.minetest where the overall configuration is supposed to be, but it's not installed. I mean, the directory's there, but the minetest configuration file is not installed. And then finally, the minetest server user's manual has been installed. And if you recall, we installed man-db in the last video, and this is why, so we can access this manual if we need it. Okay, let's take a quick look at some of these files that we installed. Let's look in the etc directory first. Remember, there wasn't a config file installed, but I created one, and we'll take a quick look at that. So we give our server a name and a description. I don't think this really matters on a local LAN server, only when you're out on the internet and your server is registered, but I added them anyways. It doesn't seem to hurt. Under server security, we have the name, which I would have marked it as administrator's name, but just where it says name equals, and this is your administrator for your server, your particular world on your server. And then the other security feature I turn on is disallow empty passwords, which means you actually have to have something for a password. And since I've got a specific map I like to use, I fixed map seed here to RT, which gives me the map I want. Next, let's look at our systemd file. Yeah, next let's look at our systemd file. These files you can set up to run when your computer starts, or you can stop them through the system control service. We want to look at the one for minetest. You'll note by the name, it has the and sign in there, that it's going to need a user, which will be minetest. We have a description, and the little %i is going to be replaced by minetest. It's pulling it, I'm not quite sure where, but it's a variable somewhere. And we want to run the minetest service after system log and network. So these need to be running first. This helps your computer determine what to run first or what order to run things in. Then there are user mind test and then the actual execution that will start it. Here was the config where we pull up the etc minetest.config file. This is the one that gave us an error last video until we created this file. And then the mapter, this is actually a deprecated value. It should be in the future changed to world, but this is the place where our game maps and our actual game live, not the game environment, but the actual game live. And wanted by multi-users. You need this to make it run. I needed to do a little more research here as to why, though. All right, next let's look at the sysuser.d and the minetest file in there. You can see it's called minetest-server.config. This is the file that actually creates our minetest user when you install the package. See the U for user, the username is minetest, the group is minetest, and the home folder is variable lib minetest. What this doesn't do is it doesn't create a shell or a password for this user, so it can't be logged into. Sort of a security measure. Well, it is a security measure. All right, the next place we want to look is in the temp files.d, again under user lib. This is another systemd file. And it's called the same as our last file was, but it's in a different folder. The D and the variable lib minetest, this is a directory it's going to create. So this file actually creates our user folder and assigns it to minetest user and minetest group. There's a couple of options here that could make this run all the time, or you can set conditions for it to run, but since these are just dashes, it'll only run when we install the minetest server package for the first time, but it will create that folder. All right, let's talk dependencies. There's a lot of dependencies that are pulled in. The main one I want to talk about is the minetest-common, and it pulls in a lot of files also, but the specific ones I'm interested in are the ones located in user share minetest. These are all your various support files for minetest. You've got the built-in, the client, your docs, your fonts, your games, your locale, your textures. I actually added the mods file. If you saw the couple videos ago where I did this on Windows with the standard or the portable version, you'll notice these were all in that folder there. If not, you can go check out that video. I added the mods one because it wasn't there initially. One other is location of interest, variable lib minetest. That's the directory where our worlds are actually located, the one that was created previously. Okay, if we actually go to that folder, the shared folder that is, user share minetest, and take a look. You can see the files, you can see the mods one's not there. Let's go ahead and take a look in the games folder. And you'll see dev test and minetest. You'll remember minetest from a couple videos ago, and then dev test was also installed. These were installed by default. All right, let's go ahead and install some content. I'm going to install a game and a mod. So for that, we're going back to our Windows installation. We're going to go to Browse Online Content. We want to install mineclone on our server, so it'll emulate Minecraft. We'll browse content. We want to go to the web page. There's a download link here. It won't take us exactly where we want it to go, but it'll get us close. So here's how I do it. I click the download link, and then it'll start installing it. And where it's installing it in the downloads, I copy the actual download link. Wish the download button would have gone straight to that link, but it doesn't. Going back to my SSH PuTTY command line interface, I want to go to our shared folder under users, the minetest one. And then the games folder. So we're going to use wget, which is a program we loaded a while back, and the link we got from the download to install this package. Technically, once we downloaded it, we could have put on a USB stick and copied it over, or used FTP or secure copy, but this will get you to make sure you have the latest versions. You ever know sometimes how old your downloads are. So that's our downloaded file. Now we need to use unzip, which we installed earlier also, to unzip it, or to expand it, uncompress it. And now you can see we have the mineclone2 directory in our games folder. We can go ahead and remove the archive we downloaded. There's really no reason to keep it at this point. Okay, next we want to make a folder to put mods in. Like I say, that wasn't created, so we're going to create it ourselves. We're going to go ahead and jump into that folder. And then the mod we want to download is whitelisted. We're going to use basically the same process. Copy the download link. Sudo wget and paste in the download link. Oh, sudo, not sudpo. Fat fingers. There we go. Now we need to uncompress this folder. And done. Now we get rid of the downloaded archive since we don't need it anymore. We're going to, oh, come on. Fix my fingers here. Fix my fingers. Why am I keep hitting that P? All right. Okay, we've installed a few new mods. We installed one mod, one game. Now we need to recreate our world using the new game environment we installed. First, let's check. I'm sure mine test is running because of the, yes, it is running because of the system D, so we need to stop it. So we'll use systemctl stop and then our minetest at minetest. And it should be stopped now. Yes, it is. Now let's go ahead and jump over to our worlds folder. Remember, that's the variable /lib/minetest folder. And then our world is in a folder in there called minetest. We want to save the world.mt file, but we want to get rid of everything else in here. So we'll just move it up a level. Okay. And then we'll remove everything in this folder. Good. Now we need to make a couple edits to our world MT folder, so we'll have to go up a level. There it is. Yeah, we'll copy it back to the folder first. Ah, sudo. Gotta remember sudo. Now let's edit it. Oh, sudo. Okay, most of the stuff we can leave the same. What we want to change is the game ID and give our world a name. What's a good name? Yeah, not feeling too creative this morning. Okay, now we need to restart minetest after we modified this file. Remember the user. All right, one additional thing we want to do here, since we installed the whitelist mod, we want to enable it so we can control who actually has access to our world. We could have done this last time we were in here, but we didn't, so we'll do it now. Make that true. Okay, let's do a reboot, sudo reboot. Okay, now we're going back. Okay, let's log back in now. Although we probably didn't have to, but let's go back to our server here. Just log in. Remember, RT is not only our admin user. So if we try and whitelist, well, let's start whitelist by turning it on first. Successfully enabled. If you want to know the commands for a whitelist, you need to go to the web page and you can find them right here. So we want to add a player. Let's go back in. Okay. So let's try and whitelist ourselves. Remember, RT is our administrator, and RT is already whitelisted. So, yeah. Oh, we got some monsters roaming around out there. All right, back to the menu. Let's try a different user. I'm going to register. And access denied. Reason, you're not whitelisted. So this is how you protect your server from unauthorized access. So to let Fred have access, let's log back in. We'll hit the slash key once we're in. And we'll add Fred. And Fred was added to the whitelist. Just exit. Shouldn't do this because it's night out, but oh well. Yeah, we need to register before we log in. Yeah, now we can get registered and log in. And it's nighttime. Run for shelter. And there we have it. We're in the game as Fred. All right, there you have it. We've created the server in our previous video. We went through some of the files you added. Some of them you may or may not want to change. I'm pretty much running the default as it's set up. We've also added a game so we can do stuff instead of just playing around in the sandbox. And we added a whitelist module to help protect our server. So yeah, I think this is good to go. Like I say, the next time I get around to doing a video about this will be in a couple months when I actually set this up on a actual piece of hardware. I'll be in the Philippines at that point, so I'll do other videos in the meantime, but not too many because we're getting ready to go. But hope to see you then. All right.